But I got a little story for you. And I know it's kind of late because it happened during Halloween. So there's this young lady, Charlie Polino Stone. She lives in the Valley. She plays Little League Baseball. She walks around the block trick-or-treating. She knocks on the door. And who opens the door? Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers, who she absolutely patterns her game after. She's a left-handed Little League pitcher. Not only was Clayton there, but Kiki Hernandez, Freddie Freeman, and Max Muncy joined in on the fray. Now, if you're going to have a trick or treat, that's the way to go, especially when you're known as Lady Kershaw. She's 9 years old.
Yeah.
Tarek, that's a great story.
That's a fantastic story. That's a lifetime memory. And who needs candy when you come away from a house, you ding dong, and you get a memory like that? I don't need a Kit Kat bar or an Almond Joy. Just give me the memory. That's a fantastic story for that young lady.
Charlie, we're with you. We'll see you in the Major League someday, hopefully.
That's fantastic.
All right, let's turn our attention to prep football. We'll start with the top-ranked team in D1, the top-ranked team in America, modern day, moving along in the playoffs, into the semifinals, handily over Sierra Canyon. Not a shock at all. Byerly, the quarterback, has been very, very good all year, although he was intercepted for the first time this season.
Yeah, hey, it means he's a mere mortal. You know, oh my gosh, he bleeds. I mean, listen, Dash Byerly has been fantastic all year long, been covering him all year long, and has gotten actually better as the season has progressed. And okay, big deal, one interception. And he threw it to Madden Reardon, who's got like 1,000 on the year. So if I had to throw it to anybody, why not the USC commit?
Not quite 1,000, but it's 11. That's a lot of interceptions. All right, moving on as well was Corona Centennial against Mission Viejo. And this was a huge battle.
Great game.
Two great teams. First loss of the year for Mission Viejo. They were perfect 10-0 coming in. Centennial improves to 9-2. And the Huskies are for real.
Yes, they are. And, you know, I coined this all week long as the public school Super Bowl, because these are the two public school powers. And if I had to say, Mission Viejo is the challenger. Centennial's been that public school power for a long time. And I actually picked them to win. Mission Viejo was favored to win the game. And I just saw Hassan Longstreet lead the way, and he had a great game as well. And Malachi Roby ran the ball well for the Huskies.
Yeah, Roby had 188 yards in the victory. Speaking of the Huskies after the game, I know you had a chance to catch up with their venerable head coach, Matt Logan. Let's hear from the coach.
You're known for your offense, the high tempo, the passing yards, the points, but tonight, defense made a huge play. Can you talk about that fourth down and Jonathan coming off that edge, putting pressure on the quarterback?
Yeah, you know, JD's had a great year, and it doesn't, you know, it helps to have everybody else around him, but the defensive secondary doing their job. Everybody else getting pressure, the other ends and the other D linemen causing pressure where, you know, puts him on one-on-one coverage. But they stepped up big time tonight. We've had a great year defensively. And what I'm most proud of is just all the mistakes that we made, turnovers, special team mishaps, and, you know, a couple things on defense, but we all hung in there together. It was a great team effort, but the defense saved us, and it was awesome. Great win.
You had mentioned earlier in the week, 19 years since you've been on the road for your first playoff game, but maybe an element of that kind of made this a business trip. Did you feel like maybe the team was kind of focused, Coach?
You know what, they were. It was just, it's I mean, you know, it's not like a college or a pro stadium where it's, you know, it's a big difference either way. So, you know, it's all at 7 o'clock, it's all the same. So it was good. It was good. Good road trip for us.
Hassan Longstreet seemed pretty polished tonight, crisp.
Yep.
Did you feel that way tonight?
Yep, I thought, you know, with maybe an exception of maybe a mistake or two on the read game, other than that, it was flawless.
Malachi Roby,
Yep.
Big game. Did you feel like the ground game was pivotal to tonight's success?
For sure, coming in, that's what we thought for sure. And you know, he's rusty. I mean, he came back at week 10 and had a good game. But you know, this is a time where he was the full workhorse, and he did a great job. Man, I'm very proud of him.
Last one,
smart play at the end too.
Yes, went down on purpose. Now, is that something you guys teach, Coach, or is that
sure,
just?
It was all great.
Okay, last. Okay. Last at modern day again. We don't want to go too deep, but hey, you get another chance at them. That must feel nice.
You're right. I mean, absolutely. If you get a chance to play number one team in the country in November, take that anytime. It's great opportunity.
Obviously, Matt Logan in a very, very good mood. Other quarterfinal games. Orange Lutheran got by Jay Serra. These are Trinity League rivals. Olu is the favorite. This is no surprise.
No surprise at all. Orange Lutheran moving on. Coach Rod Sherman has had that team pretty much dialed in all season. So no surprise to see them at this point. They're going to play St. John Bosco, which I know we're going to talk about in a second, but a good semifinal. Olu could absolutely take down St. John Bosco.
Well, Bosco won a high-scoring affair against a very good Santa Margarita team that had been playing solid football of late. You can see this was a terrific game, 31-29.
St. John Bosco's been playing close games all year long, and I've been saying this team's a young team, and every step they take is like uncharted territory because they have such young players. So for them to grit out a good playoff victory is going to add some pedigree to those young players at St. John Bosco.
All right, the semifinals are coming up tomorrow, so let's talk about those. You mentioned it, Olu taking on a very good St. John Bosco team. Who do you like there?
I think you got to go St. John Bosco. I'll take Jason Negro and the experience of the program. However, I would not be surprised if Olu was able to put something together and knock off the Braves and get to the Division I final. This is going to be a fun matchup.
And, of course, there's modern day. Everybody's picking them since they're number one in the country, but they have to go to Corona Centennial.
So that's going to be – it's going to be a different game than when they played in week 0. And that was only like a 2-score game, 2 and some change. It wasn't quite a 3-score game, if I'm not mistaken, like 42-25 or something like that. And this Centennial team, that score was a lot closer in week 0, and Hassan Longstreet did not play. So he's healthy, he's confident, he just flipped to USC. Things are looking good for Hassan Longstreet. The game could be different, but I think Mater Dei is going to win.
It's still the big story, though, this week.
Yes.
Longstreet got to play out of town. He was going to go to Texas A&M. Flips, and he's going to USC.
Listen, Luke Heward, was the quarterback's coach for USC, was at the Mission Viejo game, and that was the storyline. That was the buzz for this game was, okay, Mission Viejo Centennial, but hey, USC's here really trying to flip Hassan Longstreet. And what it did is it confirmed that Juju Lewis, the quarterback they had previously from Georgia, was probably not he was going to flip himself, and he did. He's going to Colorado now. So great get for Lincoln Riley to get Hassan Longstreet.
And for Deion Sanders to get Juju to go on to Colorado. That's a 5-star recruit there, but the Trojans do get Hassan Longstreet. All right, let's look at some of the D2 football here. Murrieta Valley is a very solid team, and you can see they got by Los Alamitos 49-28.
No surprise here. Murrieta Valley's first game, I'm trying to blank on who they played first. Oh, they played Rancho Cucamonga, and that was actually a tighter game. So for me, I think this next upcoming game, their semifinal game, will be a challenge. They play Oaks Christian. Again, we'll get to that in a second. Sorry for jumping forward there, Randy. But that game over Los Alamitos, to me, wasn't a surprise.
Dorian Ho's another big game, close to 200
Huge.
yards on the ground. He's terrific, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like running back of the year type conversation player.
All right, here's your game. You wanted to build it up. We'll go to it. Oaks Christian, one of my favorite teams out of Ventura County. Big, in a sense. 2 touchdowns over San Juan Hills. I think when you win a game like this by a couple scores, it's pretty big.
No, that's a good result. If I'm not mistaken, in both of they beat Oak Hills in the first round, and they just beat San Juan Hills. Both games, they were behind at some point, at least even in the second half, maybe even the fourth quarter. I know for sure against Oak Hills, deep into the second half, they were trailing and then were able to turn it on. So kudos to the Lions for finding something second half of games to pull out a playoff victory. Hard to do.
We're talking D1 here. Did this score surprise you? Yorba Linda getting by Sarah of Gardena. A talented Sarah Gardena team, and they lose by a couple scores.
Yeah, this Division II bracket, it's a toss-up. Every game is close. Every game, any team can beat any other team. It's probably more competitive than Division I in regard to parity. So yes, I was surprised to see Yorba Linda beat Sarah of Gardena. Yes.
This was an emotional game that we're going to talk about next. Newberry Park. Now they're undefeated, but they were playing up in class a little bit against San Clemente. And when they won this game, they stayed undefeated, and to a man, they were very emotional.
I think it proved that, wait a minute, I think Newberry Park, we all thought as that they were winning, and the league they play in, Division III would be perfect for them, Randy. They get up to Division II, almost maybe overshot, how good of a season, and now you're like, D2 might be too. Wait a minute. This is a game that they belong. It proves that they belong. Not only does Brady Smigel, Shane Rosenthal, the whole 9 on the offense, but it shows that the defense can hang in Division II by going on the road and being a very good San Clemente team. So these Panthers are for real, And I do think they're going to beat Yorba Linda in the semifinal.
And Shane Rosenthal's catching pass after pass, setting records in Ventura County. He's just having a fantastic year for Newbury Park. All right, the semifinals, Oaks Christian against Murrieta Valley. Two teams with wonderful records. Heck of a ball game.
Yeah, I think Murrieta Valley has been rolling ever since they got Bear Bachmeyer back. The defense needs to be shored up a little bit. I find it hard to see Murrieta Valley losing that game. I think Oaks Christian, it's going to catch up to them. I do see Murrieta Valley winning that game.
And you already said you like Brady Smigel and company, the great quarterback who's on his way to Florida State if he doesn't flip, because everybody seems to be flipping. Newbury Park you like over Yorba Linda.
I just think they're a little too dynamic. Yorba Linda, I mean, think about almost like a Servite 1.0 under Troy Thomas, Randy. This is a very disciplined, hard-nosed, no mistakes football team, and I just don't think they're going to have the skill set and the speed to deal with Newbury Park. And last stat on Shane Rosenthal, not just Ventura County's leader in all these, but he is the all-time California leader in receptions for a career, 304, and he did it in 44 games. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive offense for the Panthers. Let's get to D3 in the CIF Southern section. We'll start with Simi Valley in a wonderful game against La Habra. These are two prominent programs, two brilliantly coached football teams, and the Pioneers win it.
Yeah, Jim Bankert and Frank Mazzota. You know, what maybe most impressive about the Simi Valley victory, Randy, I'm pretty sure it was a second half shutout. So, again, we're seeing these teams find something in the second half to pull out victories. And if I'm not mistaken, and you might agree, that's generally a coaching thing, right? Second half adjustments, so on and so forth. So kudos to Jim Bankert.
Helps when you have a quarterback like Tag Harrison, who throws for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns for the Pioneers. Loyola, having a great run in the playoffs, getting by
Sean Morris.
You see Sean again had another huge rushing game. Sean Morris has been terrific in recent weeks. He had the winner in overtime.
So Loyola's an example of playing in the Mission League, playing a tough schedule, getting their lumps, dropping down to Division III, and then not seeing anything they hadn't seen before in a Sierra Canyon or a Serra Gardena or any other program in that Mission League. So it's boding well for them, and here they are in the semifinals.
Undefeated Bonita, not anymore. They run into the strong program of Edison. Chargers too strong. Kind of surprised by the margin here, but Edison's got a wonderful program.
Even in high school football, this is an example of how one player can impact the game. So Noah McHale, the Texas A&M linebacker and running back, did not play. Hurt in the game prior, didn't play in this game, and it clearly showed. Now, could he have made the difference where they would have won the game? Probably not, but certainly things would have been different.
Vista Murrieta had a nice win, too. They handled Cajon, shut them out to the tune of 21-0. There it is for Vista Murrieta. All right, let's take a look at the CIF Division III semifinal matchups. Loyola against Simi Valley. That ought to be entertaining. Despite that 6-6 record, the Cubs are very, very dangerous.
Very, very dangerous. I would argue that they're probably the favorite in that game, just given the schedule they've played. Again, I alluded to it just a moment ago. This is there's a pedigree of football that they've played. Now, Simi Valley, certainly, the new kid on the block per se, but and has a fighting chance by all means, but I think the Cubs are probably the favorite in that game.
In the other game, Vista Murrieta and Edison, this to me is really a picket game.
Yeah.
I don't know who to select here. It's going to be a good football game.
Vista Murrieta is capable of scoring a lot of points. Edison's a little bit more of a conservative team. So I'll just keep it this way. Score stays low, favors Edison. It gets into a points race, Vista Murrieta is going to win.
Let's turn our attention to the LA City section. Open division. We'll start with San Pedro and Banning. And remember, these teams all had byes the week before. San Pedro won it 37-26. They beat Banning during the regular season by a similar score, so that's not a surprise. Next game is Carson against Garfield. Garfield kind of tanked the game the week before, dropped a little bit in the seedings, but they run into a good Colts team, and Carson knocks them out 27-17. How about Birmingham and Gardena? That's 48 straight wins for Birmingham against LA City section competition, looking for their 5th straight Open Division crown.
Not a surprise that they knock off Gardena, and I know we'll get to this in a second. I keep jumping forward on the way you're doing the show, but they do play Narbonne next, and that'll probably be the biggest threat to that record in the past X amount of years now. Will be this Friday when Narbonne plays Birmingham. Absolutely.
In that game, Antrell Harris had kickoff returns for touchdowns of 92 and 97 yards. Quite an accomplishment for the young man for the Patriots. Also, Draydon Fowles had nearly 200 yards and a touchdown for that Patriots.
He's the guy.
team.
Draydon Fowles is the guy.
He's good. Draydon's outstanding. And the other game, which surprised me score-wise, not that they won, because they had so many players out, and we're going to talk about that. Narbonne over Dorsey. It was a mismatch. But again, Narbonne had 7 players not eligible to play.
Again, I think it's great that Dorsey got in, but there's a part of Narbonne, similar to what I've been saying about Loyola. They played Southern Section teams. They've played higher level football throughout the year, so they see Dorsey, and it's just a little bit easier. When you're in the playoffs and your toughest game of the year is win or go home, you tend not to do very well.
Okay, we're going to talk about these semifinals. It's Carson and San Pedro, which is 2 Marine League teams, and that's a picket game. 2 teams with similar records. They played during the regular year. You could flip a coin. Now the other game, Birmingham and Narbonne. If someone might say this is the quasi-championship game, whether it is or not, they're going to have, play well against the winner of the other game. But this is the intriguing game because of the Narbonne situation. And a quick comment what's going on here. It is conceivable that Narbonne wins this game and still gets disqualified.
So, long story short, investigation information came out, right? I think we all know Narbonne was boycotted against in the Marine League. They hadn't played a game since September 27th, so they play their first playoff game. But before that, on the Friday, when they beat Dorsey, 7 other players got deemed ineligible. Now, because of the ineligible players were deemed as such, after the seedings and the pairings were announced, Narbonne was able to continue to play that game. Here's the kicker. If now, until the rest of the postseason, a player that's played in the game is deemed ineligible, they will have to forfeit the playoffs. So as long as they keep guys that are probably going to get deemed ineligible on the sideline, they'll be able to continue to play. Last ad. Due to all the violations, they are already banned from the 2025 postseason.
I would imagine there's a lot of people that will be rooting for Birmingham to knock Narbonne out. The other factor is we'll be holding our breath if Narbonne wins to see if they, in the investigation, find another player.
Correct.
So they could reinsert Birmingham if indeed an ineligible player plays in this game. So that we're going to keep a close eye on that game, and we'll talk about that one next week. All right, let's move ahead and talk about Division I in the LA City section, where Eagle Rock got by Cleveland 27-20. Very good football game. Eagle Rock always well coached by Andy Moran. How about Palisades? This one stung a little bit over my alma mater. The Huskies were 11-0, but the quarterback, Jack Thomas of Palisades, is sensational.
Yeah, and I think you would touch on it. For me, Palisades was like my sleeper all year long, and I actually thought, if I'm being honest, I thought, if we we don't have to go back, but if we think about that open division matchup between Narbonne and Dorsey, Palisades actually probably would have been a little bit of a better matchup. I think Palisades should have been in the open, but they lost to Venice in league, so that dropped them down to Division I. I think Palisades is the team to beat in Division I.
Jack Thomas throws 5 touchdowns for the Dolphins in that game. Oh, by the way, in the contest, Omar Mohammed, the great running back of North Hollywood, over 2,000 yards for the year. What a performance by Omar and the Huskies, but it wasn't enough against the Dolphins. King Drew over Franklin 35-6. We've been talking about King Drew. We just don't know how good this team is. They were good last week.
Yeah, they're certainly in a division that they belong. I thought they'd be an open division team coming in, and I think we found out Division I is probably where they belong, and clearly they're thriving.
I love Diego Montez, the quarterback at Kennedy. We've been talking about him all season long. He's been in our top performances all season long. And this week we didn't put that category together because all the top performances are in the games we're talking about. And Montez did it again against Westchester. He was great against the Comets, throwing up big numbers, running and passing for touchdowns. And Kennedy is a fun team to watch. So it'll be Kennedy against King Drew and Palisades against Eagle Rock.
Yeah, a great semifinal. And look, the thing about Division I playoffs and semifinals, similar to Division II in the Southern section, you're just not sure who's going to win. There's good parity there, and that's what you want to see with competitive equity in the CIF playoff system. So I think they've accomplished it here in Division I City.
All right, in the Division II, Arleta's the top-ranked team. No problems with Angelou. They knocked them off, scoring more points. That's Arleta's game. They score. They win that one 39-28. Southgate over L.A. Wilson. That was a really tight game. Two teams that know each other really well. Chatsworth getting by Verdugo Hills. Not a surprise. Chatsworth went deep into the tournament and lost in the finals last year. I feel bad about this one. I really thought El Camino Real was going to win it. They were the number 2 seed, but Silmar really took it to them 44-13.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if Bort Escoto coaches football, but maybe he was out there. No, I'm kidding. He's the basketball coach, longtime basketball coach. Listen, again, parity. You mentioned it. You thought ECR, 2 seed, might have a chance. They get thumped. It's good to see a low seed take down a high seed, so on and so forth. It's good for the playoffs.
Jason Zabala, great guy, head coach at El Camino Real. We carried a lot of his games this year. Coaching change here. And again, we mentioned that Southgate Arleta game. That's going to be a really good game as well in the semifinals. We think Arleta will probably win the contest, but it should be a really close game. There again is the matchup with Silmar and Chatsworth in the semifinals. That will be fun stuff. All right, there's a coaching change. Andrew is out. Andrew Patterson, he is out at Marshall High School for the Barristers, but I know West Ranch made a change as well.
Yeah, so Chris Varner, we're seeing a lot of changes. You know, I don't know, we didn't talk about, you know, Casey Clausen at Alamany resigned. Westlake's looking for a new coach. Rancho Cucamonga's looking for a new coach. Steve Haggerty at Bishop Amat stepped down. Aaron Huarte at Harvard Westlake stepped down. Heritage Christian coach stepped down. So we're seeing it. There's going to be a coaching carousel this offseason, and the latest one was, yes, Chris Varner from West Ranch won the program's first ever Foothill League title in 2022 and was a coach for 27 years and 9 at West Ranch, and now he's retiring.
Last week we talked about all the champions in the Southern Section flag football. They staged their first ever tournament. Well, the city is in their second year of playoffs, and in the open division, San Pedro started it all off. Great team, hammering Verdugo Hills, who, by the way, won the Division I title last year, moved up this year, but not enough to handle the Pirates, who are very, very strong. This game was a really good game. The next one, Banning and Eagle Rock. Eagle Rock's been a power in the city the 2 years, but they have a great star in Haley Weatherspoon, caught 2 touchdowns in the loss. She ends up with 37 touchdown receptions this year, but they fall short against Banning. The other game that we need to talk about, there's other contests there. In fact, these were the semifinals, right? So we're going to move into the finals.
Correct.
So that gets us to San Pedro and Banning, 2 teams that won city titles last year.
Yeah, you know, again, this is a sport that's taken off. I mean, I always joke around. Other than pickleball, which is literally the fastest growing sport in America, when it comes to high school sports, girls flag football is something that is just leaps and bounds, most growing sport for youth across America. So really fun to see the participation and the high-level play.
And that quarterback, Alina Argueta of Banning, she throws 4 touchdowns in the last one, but she's a shortstop catcher on softball, point guard on basketball, quarterback on football. You're great to see that.
Yeah, you know, a dual sport athlete, or in this, you know, case, a tri-sport athlete, I guess. So, again, great to see out on the field.
D1 semifinals in girls flag football. What a surprise this was. Jefferson was the number 1 seed. They get knocked off. The Panorama game was a good one, too. Narbonne 7-6. But Jefferson getting beat on the semifinals. They were beaten in a close game against King Drew. Was a major, major shock.
Yeah, you know, I think both scores were pretty low scoring, and so it tells you, I don't know, maybe the offense was bad or maybe the defense was good. But, hey, when there's something on the line, you know, it's good to see close games.
7-6 Narbonne over Panorama in that other semifinal. So that sets it up for King Drew and Narbonne in the championship game. Narbonne's got to be the favorite, but King Drew's this lucky number 13 seed that's there.
Yeah, another toss-up game, so good luck to the ladies for a championship game.
All right, in the LA City Section Flag Football Division II semifinals, It was El Camino Real over San Fernando. They won there 41-18. And Cleveland over Wish Academy. They handled them fairly easy, 24-0. The finals will present the Royals of El Camino Real with the 9-5 record against Cleveland, 8-11. They've met 3 times this year. El Camino Real's won them all, but they've been close.
Give me ECR.
4 times.
Tells me
in the
everything I
same
need to
season?
know.
I don't know. By the way, all those girls' flag football championship games will be at Crenshaw on Saturday. Next week, we're going to be at the luncheon. That's going to be fun.
Fantastic.
In Long Beach. What's it, at the Marriott this
The
year?
Grand. Oh, it's not at the Grand again?
No. We're
I
going to the
actually
Marriott.
didn't know that. Okay.
I'm going to have to give you that so you can put it in your car. So
Okay.
You know how to get there.
Okay.
But it's going to be fun. We're going to meet all the coaches and all the finalists, and I think that's always a blast.
I think it's special. Listen, the kids get excited because they get the day off school for the most part, at least most of the day. And they can come, and it's great food. It's a great event. They're honored. Getting to a CIF championship is something kids dream about. Winning a CIF ring and the whole nine is a very special thing for a high schooler. So it doesn't mean that they're champions, but to get to the game alone is quite the accomplishment.
Basketball. And of course, if you follow us each week, we tee Tarek up because he goes crazy over prep hoops. A guy we know pretty well, Doug Mitchell of Bishop Montgomery, just picked up his 800th career win. That's great stuff.
I talked to him on the phone last night. He gets a win last night. Hey, Coach, 800, how does it feel? He goes, it just means I've been doing it a long time. Doug Mitchell is one of the better coaches in Southern California and 15th all-time in California for victories. I'll never forget his 2017 team. They beat Sierra Canyon. They beat Mater Dei on their way to the CIF Southern Section Open Division Championship. We got a picture of Coach Doug Mitchell. There he is in the middle with his 2 players from this year's team at the Delray League Media Day. And, not that he's not a cheerful guy, but he's always so serious and focused, so you really never get to see him smile much.
Get to know him, he's a pretty cool guy.
No
He's
question.
a nice guy.
No question. Super nice, kind, is funny, can laugh, but generally in a basketball setting, it's pretty serious, so it's hard to get a smile out of him, but we got one there in the photo. Doug Mitchell's a great coach, and he's got a lot more wins to go.
By the way, he's in his 36th
Yep,
year.
yep.
Number 1 in all-time wins in California, Gary McKnight
It's like,
of Mater Dei. He's not going to catch McKnight.
no, he won't.
How about 1,272 for Gary, and he ain't retiring.
No, he'll be going a little bit longer. And if we could touch on this one last thing, guys like Gary McKnight, Harvey Catani, Tom Hoffman at La Cañada, and one more, Mike LeDuc at Damien. All guys that are 800, 900, 1,000 plus wins still coaching in Southern California.
Okay, there's been some great games already in prep basketball early in the season. I know Pius 10 had a great win over Corona Centennial.
Yeah, St. Pius, Douglas Langford going to Harvard Westlake. They played Corona Centennial last night, and they ended up beating, I think, 93-91.
You got it.
And Corona Centennial, listen, Jared McCain, the list goes on of all the great players that have come, Carter Bryant from last year, Eric Freeney. They're not quite that type of, they might not even make the Open Division this year, but it's still Josh Giles. They still have a great team.
And there was another game in the city section, could be a preview of the Open final down the road. Chatsworth at Westchester, and Chatsworth won.
Chatsworth won. Elijah Arenas got the best of Taj Ariza. That was the matchup there. And yes, could be an Open Division final preview. And so we'll wait to see. But one of the headlining aspects of that game was James Harden came and watched. Obviously, Gilbert Arenas and Trevor Ariza were there watching their sons. But James Harden came. I think he came by himself. He sat up in the corner of the gym and watched the game. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. He's a basketball
LA guy.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Artesia. Where are you going this week?
I'm not so sure yet. I think we're going to get weather, Randy, Friday through the weekend. So
the sun is going to come up.
Well, I'm just saying, depending if it's really rainy on a Friday night, I might not go too far just to play it safe. So I'm not quite sure, but I'll be somewhere. And, looking forward to the luncheon on Monday.
Get your paper ready. We're going off the air. Tarek will be somewhere. So no matter where you go this weekend at one of those high school sites, perhaps Tarek Fatal of SB Live will be there. Thank you all for viewing us tonight. That's going to wrap it up. For Tarek Fatal, I'm Randy Rosenblum. So long for now.
I'm going to try and hit the camera right here.
Right at
Camera
the
2.
Go. Fire. Come on. There it is.
Oh, my
It was
God.
better
That
last
was my worst one.